Welcome to our virtual discussion today. I can't believe we're already through February. 2023 has definitely gotten off to a great start. Each year, earlier this year, we started planning this event and we analyzed patterns in the industry and our own customer needs. From this info, we made bold predictions and we can't wait to see how they play out. Before we jump into it, I have a few house rules to go over. Feel free to use the chat anytime to answer some questions. If we don't get to your questions during the webinar, you'll be contacted shortly after. I'll get to why asking a question is so important. Look out for the recording and they'll be sent to your email. And feel free to follow us on LinkedIn for AMC updates and the latest news. And don't forget, attendees who ask questions will be entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our two guests with me. Tony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Jessica. So, hi, I'm Tony Uliano. I'm the CEO and founder of AMC, and I'm really happy to be a part of this webinar. You know, for us, I mean, 2023 has gotten off to a great start, and I sort of view it as an inflection point. You know, because I think that the pace of innovation is accelerating. You know, we're reading all about ChatGPT and all these other things and the proliferation of AI. But at the same time, a lot of companies are slowing down to reconsider where they want to invest. And as a result of that, you know, I think customer experience has been one of the biggest areas of transformation for businesses. It's really where they can save the most money, make the most money, and drive the most value for their company and for customers. So it really is an awesome time, and I'm really excited to talk about the predictions and where we go this year.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And David, can you introduce yourself to us?
Certainly. So my name is David Grant. I'm a customer success manager here at AMC Technology. I've been here for just a little bit over 3 years. And in that short amount of time, I've been afforded the opportunity to talk to a myriad of different customers that are from so many different backgrounds and so many different verticals. And even here at the very beginning of 2023, we've been having some very productive and fruitful conversations with our current customers. And as Tony mentioned, we're really seeing and learning a lot about how our current economic state is going to restructure the way that customers allocate capital and decide where they're going to see the most bang for their buck. And we really do think that customer experience is the perfect place to make that investment.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And do you have any big plans for 2023?
Well, for me, there's a dream that I'm going to take the California Zephyr train from Chicago to San Francisco. It's roughly a 52-hour train ride. I haven't found anybody who's willing to lock themselves in a compartment with me for that long. So anybody watching, taking applications, you can hit me up on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. I was not expecting that. Well, thank you. Let's get started. Okay, so with our first prediction. Hyper-personalization is the next frontier. With the increase of demand for digitalization, customers are expecting unique experiences from our brands. For companies that set themselves apart from the masses, they'll need to invest in technology that creates hyper-personalization. Luckily, a lot of technology now supports you to get more insights and awareness from your customers. So Tony, what do you think are some examples of what you've seen in the industry with hyper-personalization?
Sure, yeah. So I think that hyper-personalization is really about responding to the customer and responding to them in the way that they are intending. So it's typically using AI. That's a lot of what the buzz is around hyper-personalization. It's being able to use AI to be able to, to train it, to be able to respond back in a custom way. But really, I think, hyper personalization or personalization is really about not only training perhaps systems, but also your agents, and making sure that you can customize and have the caller or the customer feel like they're receiving personalized service. So I think that personalization, it really could be as simple as using recent activities to pre-route callers. So like as an example, if you're, I recently took a flight and my connecting flight was going to be late, or I was going to be late for it. And when I called in to reschedule because the line was way too long at the airport, they already knew that I was on an active reservation. So that's an example of personalization. I was able to jump ahead in the queue because I was currently in the middle of a flight. So I think that's a good example. But there's a lot of other ways of personalizing. I mean, I think even things like being able to send a caller to the last agent they spoke to. It's any of these things. And so it's really combining, you don't necessarily have to combine AI, but it is taking that data, and being aware of the types of interactions you want to have, and where are the points that you can customize that interaction, rather than just executing a flow as the business wants it to be. It's being able to tailor that interaction to be more around the customer intent. So I think that so certainly like using AI for like with the chatbot interaction, or even like voice conversations. There's a term that's used called next best action, which is basically trying to figure out, based on the way the interaction is going, either in the chatbot or the voice conversation through like transcription. It's figuring out what keywords are coming up, and using those keywords as a way to tailor a response. So those are some of the things that we're seeing in the industry.
That's awesome. I love that. And what is your vision for DaVinci Play in the hyper personalization with customer experiences?
Yeah. So we're certainly helping a lot of customers to enhance their agent's experience, and the customer's experience, by being able to provide additional data to the customer. Even so, one, we're helping with the routing, so we can help by looking up more data in the CRM system. And I think a lot of companies, I think they miss an opportunity to use their CRM application that has a wealth of customer data and interaction data, using that to personalize the interactions. And so we're helping a lot of businesses in using that data to be able to route calls to either the last agent they spoke to, or if they recently logged a case, maybe they're calling on behalf of that. So it's making sure that data is there to be able to help with that interaction and personalizing it. But we're also doing things like enabling transcription for a lot of our customers, and being able to recommend that next best action. So whether they're using something like Salesforce or Dynamics, we're able to enable transcription from a number of the providers to be able to recommend, based on keywords or even the emotions that are coming up in the call, sort of the path that the agent ought to take. But our view is we're also going beyond that. And so we're also combining other activities. So we're taking even activities that might happen at like a physical location, or in other ways. We're taking like those activities as well, and using things like geolocation or even photo identification. And I think that David, you probably have a couple of customers that you can share some specifics on.
Yeah, so I talked about how we've been working with various customers from a myriad of different backgrounds and verticals, and one of them that's near and dear to my heart, because this is where I was stolen from, if you will, is the car business. And we do work with a car dealership, and some of the ideas that we have, that we're hoping to see implemented here in the near future is, nobody likes going to get their car serviced. It's not a pleasant experience. You always feel like you're about to leave spending money you didn't think you were ever going to have to plan to spend for. And so how can you make that experience better for everybody involved? And one way is scanning the license plates as they come in. Now, this is something that dealerships already use in various different technologies. They can scan your license plate and also see if your vehicle's out of alignment so they can try and upsell you and recommend an alignment. Now that works for everybody, but how can we take that data that you've already gathered, that license plate, and make that into a better overall experience? Well, you can use that data to really see exactly how long somebody's been at the dealership, if you scan it when they come and when they leave. So you know how long the appointment was and how long your customer was in that dealership. You've probably got some industry statistics you can work that against. What is the ideal time for somebody to be there, for example? And with DaVinci, you can gather all of that information. You can integrate all of your business's applications so that you can generate reports that really help inform what your customer's experience was like in the dealership. Now, what are you going to do with the customer while they're sitting there? Great. If you're integrating all of these businesses' applications, you can actually screen pop or alert the salesperson who sold that customer the car that their customer is sitting there, for lack of a better term, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for their car to be serviced. As a former car salesperson, I could tell you our time was not always used appropriately. You've got the time to get up from your desk and go talk to your former customers and build those relationships. This is just an example of how the stuff that Tony's talking about of leveraging AI, leveraging all of your business's applications and integrating them together isn't reserved only for a call center environment. There are many other examples of retail locations where something like this could be useful. Now, there's another customer we're working with. We've worked with various financial institutions here at AMC since I've been here, and voice authentication is something that has become a hot topic, if you will, in the space. Fraud is a big problem, of course. We hear about it in our daily lives, identity theft and things of that nature. Voice authentication is one way to add another layer of protection. And so with DaVinci, we're actually going to be able to ensure that those that are taking phone calls are able to very quickly authenticate who it is that they're speaking with and actually be able to log that authentication into the customer interaction record so that if they have to transfer to somebody else because the person they're speaking with doesn't know the answer, the next person can speak with confidence almost immediately as soon as the call is transferred. So there are many ways that using DaVinci and using some of the technological advances that are coming in our space to better the agent experience and better the customer experience and really make the most of everybody's time while they're on an interaction or in a retail store.
Yeah, and I just want to add one quick point to that, David, because I think it's a great scenario. So with voice biometrics, one of the things that we did was for one of our customers, we calculated the cost savings.
Yeah,
and it turned out for across all of their branch employees, it was saving them per call. It was $29,000 a year in savings off of that. Just adding the voice biometrics and having the call time reduced, it saved a lot of money. So personalization, you can find that balance. Like I talked about earlier, a lot of companies are trying to take on this technology and do something with it, and really improve the customer experience. At the same time, they're looking at the bottom line. And so adding the voice authentication really accomplished both. It helps the bank to improve their customer experience because the customer doesn't have to answer a bunch of questions about who they are. And it really also reduces the call time and gives the agent a better idea and more comfort that who they're talking to is who they actually are talking to. So I think that's a great example. But personalization, there's so many different ways that the industry is personalizing and that DaVinci can also help personalize.
Thank you for that, both you guys. That sounds like a win-win for everybody. That's awesome. On to our next prediction. Prediction 2, a continued push towards smart self-service while focusing on the employee experience. I recently read in a Harvard review that about 80% of consumers said that they prefer to try and resolve issues on platforms such as search engine, forums, and even the brand's website before asking and reaching out for assistance. This is interesting because of a lot of agent turnover being an issue right now. And a good way to kill two birds with one stone might be to give those customers what they want with self-service, while in parallel leaving for more agents to focus on more advanced skill sets. Tony, what do you think are some examples that you've seen in the industry with good self-service?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I think that I view self-service as being on a continuum. And so, I mean, there's a lot of examples of self-service, like even like websites that let you update your own address. Like that's an example on one side of self-service, which has been done for a long time. And you know, but certainly I think that self-service needs to really be considered as part of the whole journey that a customer has, and make sure that you involve, you know, all the other interactions too. So I think that helping, I mean, I know there's a huge trend, as you pointed out, for customers wanting to self-serve, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a black and white thing. It's not just that they're just going to self-serve. They also want to have, you know, sort of light assistance or full assistance. And when that's happening, you know, that they want that interaction flow, you know, to be maintained. They want to feel you know, a positive interaction throughout that whole cycle, throughout that whole journey. So I think that one big example of self-service are chatbots, and so chatbots are everywhere. You know, unfortunately, they're most of them are pretty poorly maintained, or they're aligned with or they're not aligned with goals of the customer. They're aligned with goals of the business, and I think you have to strike that balance. So chatbots can certainly reduce the call volume, and they can benefit both the agent and the customer if they're done correctly. And so I can't think offhand of really any great ones out there, but I know that they're there. I know there's a lot of work being done around this area, and so I think that those that are doing it well are constantly training and monitoring and looking at that customer data. They're looking at how many of those interactions on the chatbot are escalating to an agent. When they do escalate to an agent, you know, was that an appropriate path? You know, was it a predictable path, or are they just super frustrated with this chatbot or with the website that then they're calling into an agent, you know, and they're frustrated. And so I think that certainly self-service is a big trend, and I'm really happy to see that the industry is taking it more seriously and investing more time in looking at the customer journey and building out, you know, a lot better models than what are out there today.
Yeah, and just to chime in, I think that there are situations where customers prefer to use it doesn't necessarily fall into the self-service side of things, but they want to text or chat with an agent rather than get on the phone with them. But in many cases, the gatekeeper in this situation is a chatbot before it allows you to actually talk to a real person. And so personally, for me, where I run into this is when I'm trying to do something with my cell phone. I don't want to call somebody and buy a new cell phone because I want to be able to read everything that I've said, because you never know what might get tacked on that you didn't remember saying yes to, or so on and so forth. And if you have a record, it's way easier to go back and be like, oh yeah, I did ask for the screen protector. Oops, that's my fault. But in order to get to that person, it is sometimes very frustrating. And so chatbots can be excellent in pointing you in the right direction on a website, or quickly linking you to a knowledge article which helps answer your question. But in order for a chatbot to serve a good purpose in helping employees and helping the people using them, they need to provide an easy to understand off-ramp to actual assistance from a real life person. I bet that in that Harvard survey, if they had asked those customers in the middle of trying to solve a problem if they wanted to use a chatbot or talk to a person, those same 80% of people would have said, I wish I could get a hold of a human being right now. So it's a fine line that the industry is trying to figure out, and there's no right answer yet. But the answer to me that makes the most sense is try a chatbot, see if it works for you, but make sure you provide that easy off-ramp to be able to get in touch with an agent.
Yeah.
And hopefully over time, you're able to reduce the number of those agents that have to take those requests, because you are able to learn your lessons from why somebody is taking those off ramps.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point, David. I mean, but that off ramp is really important, and so I think you have to look at the whole customer journey, both on the on the website and even prior to even arriving at your own website. What are they doing to self-serve and do research and all of that when they get on your website? I think a lot of businesses, as I said earlier, they're looking at it from their goals. What is the business trying
Yep.
to accomplish? I think the first thing you need to do is look at what the customer is trying to accomplish. And so, some of the things that we've done is we've made sure that we're when there is an escalation to an agent, we're making sure that we're providing that full transcript of what happened on the chatbot, what happened on the website, passing that information hopefully into an AI that can also, there's extra points for those businesses that take that transcript and don't just push it to the agent expecting them to review the whole thing, but actually parses through it and suggests to the agent about next best steps. So that way they can more easily, help the customer and allow that customer to feel confident that they can self-serve, and whenever they want to engage with a live agent, that they're not going to have to just repeat that whole process. So that's a lot of what we're doing with our customers around self-service. It's really trying to identify, where a customer wants to start an interaction on their own, and then when they want to seamlessly transition either to, as I said, either to like a light assist model or to like a full assist interaction.
That's awesome, Anthony. You went right into my second question for you, so that was perfect. We are going to jump into our third prediction, investing in digital transformation. The buzzword. And so digital transformation is a continued push to orchestrate better experiences in the industry. And I would like to ask you both maybe what are examples that you've noticed in the industry with investing in digital transformation to get these better experiences, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, there's a lot going on as I talked about when we first started around like digital transformation. And I think in some ways it's becoming almost an overused phrase. And so I think we have to figure out what it really means and where the benefits are and what technology will help with those benefits. But I know, like, as an example, there are some vendors like Salesforce, as an example, that they're embedding like contact center capabilities right in their own stack. And there's even some CCaaS vendors like Twilio that are adding CRM capabilities into their stack. So these larger vendors are merging a lot of the technologies, and in one way that may be good for customers, but I think it isn't always the best trend for customers. From our discussions, there's a lot of businesses that are trying to go beyond just handling voice, SMS, and chat. They actually want to build that seamless experience for their customers and their agents. And so our view is that orchestration, interaction orchestration, is really sort of where the industry needs to go. It's not just offering, all of the pieces of the tech stack, but it's being able to orchestrate all of those pieces into a seamless experience that not only is improving the customer's interaction, but the agent's interaction too. So I think that there's a lot of investment around transformation. And so for us, when we're working with customers, we really want to take more time and figure out what their goals are and what the goals they have for their customers are as well.
And speaking of your customers, like, how are you creating a more streamlined CX?
Yeah, so we've been talking a little bit about that. So our view is that orchestration is the most important part of this. So we're taking that perspective that you need a holistic view of the customer journey, and that journey may go across the contact center into brick and mortar, like we just talked about earlier, like for bank branches or whatnot, and it could even include like field service. So we're looking at taking all those interactions. There's a customer that we worked with where they are on the business of delivering cement. And so we have it so we're tracking the geolocation of the truck. And as that location, as the truck is getting closer to the on-site location, the crew has to get ready to accept this wet cement into their foundations. We alert the foreman on site that the cement's coming. And so we look at this as that the journey for the customer really goes beyond. It spans the contact center, and it goes into brick and mortar, and like that example of field service. So we're looking at it as our DaVinci platform allows you to manage all these different interactions, and then orchestrate all those interactions for the best outcomes for the customer, and certainly then also for the agents, or for the users, for the employees. And so I think the other thing that we've found is that a lot of businesses are being pitched that they need to abandon all the investments that they've already made. So a lot of businesses out there have really have invested heavily in their premise, like communication systems, as an example, but they're being told that they're not able to transform unless they drop all of that and move over to a CCaaS or something like that. And so with DaVinci, that's the other thing that we're doing a lot for our customers is that we're helping them to add modern services like transcription, like voice biometrics, like geolocation, to their existing infrastructure. So that speaks to the point that I raised in the beginning, where businesses are sort of slowing down and trying to leverage as much of their existing investment as they can, while also dramatically improving their customer experience. And so that's another way in the model that we have for DaVinci. We're able to orchestrate interactions across all those different stacks. So across even like premise communication or cloud communication to transcription from different providers to voice biometrics, etc. We can combine all of that in more of a seamless experience.
Yeah, and to jump in there, one thing that you mentioned, Tony, was there are those large companies like Salesforce that are really trying to put their arms around all of it and own every piece of it. And one thing that is to be wary of in that regard is that you become beholden at that time to the roadmaps of these larger companies. And so one thing that DaVinci gives you is options. You're allowed to look beyond the roadmaps that these large companies have and have to stay strict to. Now, this isn't necessarily a critique of them as much as it is just a reality of a large business. You have roadmaps, you have to stick with them, or else nothing forward will ever get done. But the benefit of DaVinci is that it gives you options to expand that functionality, and not an obligation to wait for somebody to tell you when you can do it.
Yeah, so exactly.
Go ahead.
I agree. Yeah, no, I was just going to add that for us, we really try to promote our customers to own their transformation. There's a lot of vendors out there that are preaching that you'll transform if you invest in their stack. And it's really, as David pointed out, it's not to be critical of any one of those vendors, but I think that the most powerful transformation is ones that companies own themselves, where they look at what they're trying to transform and how they're looking to transform their customers' experience, not necessarily just taking the advice from one particular vendor, but looking at all the different investments that they've made and making the best decisions that they can about how to orchestrate all of that to improve customer service.
That's wonderful, you guys. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, David, for sharing such valuable information.
Sure.
I can't wait to see how this all plays out. It was so wonderful to hear both of your point of views on all those predictions. We will reach out to the Amazon gift card winner for whoever won that for asking any questions, and keep an eye out in your inbox for the recording. And thank you all so much for attending. This was great.
Thank you. Yep, I appreciate it. Thanks.